if we have to summarize, we could say that the liquids are efficient and cost effective, and they offer more flexibility in formulation. That's the main advantage and the trend today in liquid usage in meals.
Welcome to the Poultry Podcast Show. I am Liz Bobek, and today I'm here with Marc Perel. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Elizabeth. That's a real pleasure to chat with you, and participating in this podcast is a unique experience for me, particularly since English is not my first language, as you might have noticed. And thanks for the invitation.
You're fantastic. So I would love, we have a few things to talk about today as far as liquid applications in feed mills, but first I would love to hear your path to working with poultry in feed milling.
Well, that's a long journey since I started and graduated in 94, so that's 30 years ago. I am a grain industry engineer, and I started from the beginning in the feed industry. I occupy different positions, mainly operational positions in feed mills, premix plants, and I joined Adisseo a bit more than 10 years ago. As a solution application manager, I started in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And today I have a global role. So I'm, let's say, supporting my colleagues in the regions, commercial regions, and the SBUs, and R&I also. And so indeed, Adisseo is putting a strong focus on poultry, but we also target other species like monogastrics and ruminants, of course. So that's a long journey, actually.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What drew you to feed milling? Is it just the engineering side, or putting science together with application? I mean, it's an interesting career.
Yeah, definitely, it's about application. I after having a very operational role in premix and feed mills, then I started to do kind of consulting on so many topics, about safety, productivity, quality, investments, and so on. So this is what I'm trying to do also today in Adisseo, with my first mission at the end of the day is to support customers. So what is really strange also is that, well, my main job is to support our customers for the usage of our products, but it can go beyond this. And sometimes people ask me, how can I improve my pellet quality? How can I improve how can I optimize my energy consumption, and so on. So many times we go beyond the additives topics for production management and optimization.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting role, and you have something different to do every day. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, definitely. We talk to so many people. I'm used to visit mills. I could visit mills in more than 45 countries. So wow. That's really interesting. You meet people, and even beyond the industry and industry topics, just meeting people, from everywhere. This is a very rich experience, actually.
A worldwide leader in animal nutrition, Adisseo's portfolio of products includes methionine, the full range of vitamins, enzymes, organic selenium, probiotics, mycotoxin management strategies, and palatability products. With such a diverse offering, Adisseo supports its customers with a broad range of expertise, tools, and services to help them maintain a competitive advantage. Adisseo, fueling predictable profits. To learn more, visit Adisseo at www.adisseo.com.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal. So I think that's really cool part of your role.
It is.
So can you tell us a little bit today about some of the different the interests in using liquids, I guess, in feed mill, and maybe some specific examples? Like, tell me about liquids in feed mills. I have a small appreciation, and I'd like to know more.
First, we could say that the world of feed ingredients is really diverse. It gives formulators a huge variety of raw materials and additives to choose from. It was not the case back in the early days of our industry, one century ago, when almost everything in animal diets was in solid form. Things have changed, and nowadays liquids are very common. We have raw material like oils, fats from vegetable or animal sources, molasses, vinases, and so on. For the additives, you can also find a huge variety of things like amino acids and their analogs, acidifiers, antioxidants, enzymes, palatants, and many others. They are used for all species, and their use has grown in feed mills worldwide. This trend is here to stay. That's my main message today. If we take the example of methionine, that for which Adisseo is a big producer, it's available in powder and liquid form, and on average, about 35% of the global market uses the liquid form. Since its introduction was made in the 80s, major markets like your country, the US, but also Mexico, Brazil, Spain, and others have seen over 50% penetration of liquid methionine. In the segment of integrators, you have so many in the US, this penetration can reach 80 and even up to 90%. Other markets, less mature, like Europe, Middle East, China, India, are also increasing their use of liquid methionine due to the market concentration and increased automation. So if we have to summarize, we could say that the liquids are efficient and cost effective, and they offer more flexibility in formulation. That's the main advantage and the trend today in liquid usage in mills.
So I know that there are different times that liquids can be applied. Does the timing of application impact whether you use the liquid, or do you think there's more considerations?
Actually, there are two main, in a feed mill, there are two main places where you can add liquids. Maybe we can start with, I would say the main one, which is the main mixer.
Yeah.
Most of the liquids are added in the main mixer, where all, let's say, solid ingredients meet to be mixed all together.
Mm-hmm.
So here you can find macro liquids, as I said, but micro liquids. And if we had to advise the auditors of the podcast today, I would say that everything starts by the design, and this phase of designing is really crucial. Even if all feed mills, we all know feed mills, we know that the manufacturing principles are roughly the same. However, each plant is unique. So when you design micro liquid addition equipment, you need to keep a few things in mind. First of all, the current and future production volumes, the type of feed, the mixing lines to be equipped, including any existing equipment, and the space availability. So these are general considerations. Then there is a very specific topic, which is spraying, which is super important for making sure liquid additives are applied properly and mixed well. So basically, first of all, get the right size of droplet. The main objective is to get the right size of droplets, ensure enough spraying time, spray directly onto the feed and not on the shafts and the walls of the mixer, and avoid after run and nozzle blockage. Then it's a matter of pressure, etc., etc. So design and pay attention to the way of spraying into the mixer. That's the main topics.
So in I would say most cases, if a feed mill is already built, because we have a lot of aged feed mills, is it difficult to retrofit for liquid application, or is that something that could be relatively easy if you have the space?
Yeah, that's right. It's also a matter of space. You are fully right. Basically, especially in Adisseo, what we like to do, or the way we are doing, is to pay a visit to. For each case, we support our customers with a program I can detail later. But basically, we accompany our customers to design the right solution. So basically, all starts with a ground visit. So first we visit the mill, considering the space. You are fully right, but not only, as I said, how many mixers, the volume, and so on and so on. And from this feasibility visit, first step, then we design with partners, we define the right solution for the feed miller. And it's not difficult at all. And that's, I would say, the daily job of my colleagues on the field, actually.
Have you had any instances that were just really unique or interesting for how, you were able to make something work, like retrofit a liquid application? I know sometimes people have kind of interesting or complex problems they have to solve that stick in their mind because they were able to overcome a hurdle in a creative way.
Actually, no. I can tell you that from this long journey I explained, I perceived that the liquid, even with very skilled people, even people who have a long experience in feed mills, and that's true everywhere, they don't know that much about liquid, and even sometimes they can be afraid because most of the formula is in solid form. I would say close to, I don't know, 95% is solid, and many people ignore the secrets of liquid application. But I would say adding liquid in a mixer is something quite easy. And to answer your question, I'm quite proud that few years ago, I would say 10 years ago, almost, when I joined the company, we have designed, it was in Europe and Middle East, Africa, we have designed compact solution with partners in Spain that we call plug and spray for addition of methionine. So we had to target, let's say, small consumers with a unique and specific solution. So I'm quite proud that we have developed in the company, in Adisseo, this solution for, let's say, small users. That's quite nice.
Yeah, that's a big innovation to be able to develop basically an independent method to add liquid. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
And lots of engineering, I'm sure, and small hurdles to get to the big goal. Awesome.
However, we need to we target at designing the specific solution for each type of customers. You have small, medium, big, with automation, with no automation. I mean, in the US, that I don't know that much. I think most of the processes are automated, but I can tell you it's not the case everywhere. So we have to adapt to the local market and local conditions.
Gosh, that would be a really interesting part of the job, where you get to deal with different markets and different conditions. So
definitely.
Sounds pretty fun, especially the farm visits. So for applications that happen after pelleting, what are some of your favorite solutions or favorite liquids or different ways to apply after pelleting?
So this is the second place where liquid addition mainly happen in feed mills, especially for enzymes. So if we speak about macro ingredients, definitely industry feed millers are used to coat, to use fat coaters for many years, and liquid enzymes appeared, I think, in the 90s. And we benefit from the fat coaters to apply liquid enzymes just after pelleting. The main reason, not to say the only reason, but the main reason is to bypass the pelleting operation in order to protect or to prevent to damage the enzymes, since enzymes, as you know, are thermosensitive. So applying enzymes in post-pelleting is one solution, is a good solution, and one solution to prevent damaging the enzymes. So that's the second main place to apply liquid additives post-pelleting. You asked me if it was something quite tricky or difficult to apply liquids in mixers. I would say basically no. But for post-pelleting liquid application, in general, it's a bit different. I will explain you the difference is quite simple to understand. In the mixer, it's a batch addition. You have to add a quantity of ingredient to a given quantity, which is basically the size of the batch, 1 kilo for 5 tons. So you know that you have 5 tons in the mixer. So the only thing is to weigh 1 kilo and put it in the mixer. For PPLA, in general, it's not a batch addition. It is a continuous addition. So that's the main difference. It means that you have to adjust a flow to a flow. You have to adjust the flow of liquid to the flow of solid, which is more tricky actually. You have to measure the flow of solid and you have to adjust in real time the flow of liquid, which is actually more, let's say, complex and more technique actually.
It reminds me of, did you have to do math problems where somebody was leaving at a certain time, and if you wanted to catch them, you had to calculate how fast you had to move? It's distance equals rate times time.
Actually,
more involved physics than that. Yeah.
In the feed mill, it's much more practical. Basically,
yes.
The question is, what is the flow second after every second after second, because it may vary. What is the flow? 20 tons per hour, 25, 30, whatever. And from this information that you are supposed to have in real time, you have to adjust the flow of liquid, which is actually more tricky. This is very practical, but today the solutions exist. This is quite technical, but again, since you respect some good practices in terms of design and operation and maintenance, I mean, this works perfectly at the end of the day.
The main complaints I've heard, at least from producers that do use they apply fat or any other liquid after, is just inconsistency. So it sounds like it's related to not calculating the correct flow for the spray according to the pellets that are being made.
Right after, if you have today, the majority of coolers are counterflow coolers. So the flow of pellets after the pellet mill and after the cooler is really inconsistent. Is on off. So first of all, you need to have a surge bin to regulate this flow, and then have the proper automation to regulate this flow. Then you have different strategies. You have three strategies. The less consistent one and less reliable one is to trust your system and to consider a theoretical flow. And obviously, most of the time you will be, let's say, irregular and inaccurate. The second way is to use, to consider a volumetric flow. So basically, you think about volume, but you may have also variation in the density of the feed. And the last strategy, the third one, is more consistent, is to measure the flow, typically with a weighing belt, for instance, or a weighing screw, weighing something that tells you at a given time what is the flow of feed. And from this information, you adjust the flow of enzymes, for instance, or fat. You mentioned fat or fat.
So how long does the drying or cooling process take after the liquid has been applied? I mean, is there added time due to applying liquid, or is it ready to go, once it gets out of the system? Is there a concerned,
So, I mean, after the liquid addition, I would say the production process is over, is finished. The drying, cooling and drying comes right before liquid addition. Then it is finished. However, I would like to mention one important point is about sieving. Many feed mills sieve after the cooler. What is important, especially for enzymes, is to sieve before the application and not after. Because if you sieve after, you may remove some enzymes. But having said that, there is no cooling or drying operation, because typically for enzymes, enzymes are applied at a very low rate. I mean, depending on the products, it can go from 50, 100, 200 milliliters per ton, which is basically this glass of enzymes for 1 ton, which is very small. In many cases, we advise to dilute these enzymes, let's say up to 1 liter per ton. So basically 1 bottle, which is still not a big amount, but you can imagine 1 kilo of water for 1 ton remains a small amount. So basically, once it is added to the feed, the process is over and you go to the finished feed bin, actually.
That's really interesting because I just kind of wondered if something is applied to the pellet and it doesn't have time to dry, does it end up on the machinery? Does it end up not where you expect it?
No, no drying time needed.
Yeah.
No drying time needed.
Yeah, that sounds like very quite aerosolized almost. So
if you want, I can make a comparison.
Sure.
When you pellet, you have to dry and cool the pellets. You have to dry because when you add steam, basically depending on the conditioning temperature, but let's say roughly you add something like 50 kilo of steam, so 50 kilo of water to 1 ton of feed. So 50 kilo versus let's say 1 kilo.
Yeah.
You see that makes a big difference. So no need for drying with 1 liter per ton.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. So with all of these processes, how does a feed mill manager check to make sure that they're applying what they expect? You kind of talked about adjusting some of the speeds and rates in both cases in the actual bin and afterwards. But what are the key points for quality control?
Before talking about quality control and answer your question, you say how they make sure they put the right quantity and get the right feed quality. Before quality control and after design, the main topic is operation and maintenance. We have not spoken about maintenance, but definitely for any topic in the feed mill, maintenance is really key. So for liquid equipment, maintenance is not a big deal. It is mainly about verifications. You have not so many actions. You have verification like absence of leakage, absence of unusual vibrations, and so on. And about actions, it's mainly cleaning filters, cleaning from time to time the tank, and so on. So, however, maintenance is very important. And I would say what is the most important as for solid is metrology. Metrology either of your scale or your flow meter. So for me, this is the main part. And then you just check the nozzles, make sure the nozzles are not blocked, and so on and so on. So the first step is the maintenance. Then coming to your questions about quality, quality control, I would say something we could forget it, but for me that's really key. The first step is proper sampling. Everything starts with sampling. If we say sampling, you may think about representativeness. However, I would like to start with another topic, which is safety. I would not do anything just to get a sample and risk my life or my health to get a sample. I remember so many years ago, I was in a mill and I refused to go somewhere to take samples because I felt it was dangerous. It was high and so on with a risk of fall. So I said, no, I will not go because it's dangerous. And the guy in the plant told me, okay, if you don't want to go, I will go. I said, no, sorry. If I don't go, you don't go, and we will not take samples, or we took samples from another place. But definitely, that's the first topic, which is safety. We could go into details about safety if you want. Then the main topic is representativeness. So here again, I have some tips. Avoid automatic samplers that have not been appropriately qualified, and I would prefer to go for manual sampling. Also go for sampling in motion and cut the entire section of the flow. Take several primary samples. Never sample unstable products. I see this sometimes in trials. People sample hot mash or hot pellets out of the die or the conditioner. For me, it does not make sense. Also, do not take samples inside the mixer. I prefer to take sample right after the mixer, just before the foot of the elevator and so on. So sampling is the starting point for quality control. Then, if we come back to the mixer, we advise to make what we call in Adisseo mixer profile. Basically, it's homogeneity test. Homogeneity and conformity test. the principle is quite simple. You just draw 10 samples right after the mixer, as I said, and then we analyze those samples for, let's say, methionine or any other ingredient. And from this, we calculate the conformity, which is the average divided by the expected quantity. That's the conformity. And then we calculate the coefficient of variation, the CV, which is basically the standard deviation divided by the mean. And this helps you to assess your process and the quality of application of the additive and the mixing operation. So that's the best way on the protocol to make sure you apply in the proper way the additive in the mixer.
Yeah, it sounds like the method of sampling is really impactful to the outcome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You can, with batch sampling, you can make huge mistakes, and I was especially in the past, I was used to, when people get bad results. Maybe it happened to you. You get the result from the lab, and it's not satisfactory. And many people say, "Oh, that's a problem of sampling. Let's try again." So if you don't trust sampling, don't analyze.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't analyze.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time and money.
Definitely.
So within all of these different actions, if you will, so the quality control, the design of the feed mill, are these all things that you're doing within Adisseo? So they're kind of services that are offered when you're doing contracted work with a group?
Basic offer, as I mentioned when we started this discussion, is to support customers with project for liquid application, whatever the product, so mainly methionine, but also enzymes or palatants and so on. So this is the daily job, especially of my colleagues in the region. So we have dedicated teams in the regions, and I will not tell you too much about the situation in the US because it's a bit too early, but we are strengthening our workforce in the US for this matter. But we have people on the field to accompany and to support our customers. Besides this, indeed, we can address so many topics. I mentioned energy optimization, quality, productivity, investments, and so on. So this is more case by case, I would say, consulting support, let's say.
Yeah, that's really, really neat. There's a lot of different services that are customizable.
Yes, and I can tell you, I will not be very humble, but it's quite unique and it's quite differentiating versus our competitors. Some competitors also support their customers, but not so much actually.
Yeah. So is that one of your favorite aspects of the job, that it's customizable and you can kind of get into the detail about offering support?
And you are so proud and happy when you feel that you are solving the customer issue. That's my goal. My professional goal is to solve customer issues. Actually, that's my goal. That's my goal. That's my mission.
Yeah, I like problem solving when I get to solve just as well. Is there anything that we haven't discussed today that you want to touch on?
There is one last point I would like to mention. It's a bit of advertisement, but free advertisement. A few months ago, end of last year, we have released a quite unique document, which is called Addiseo's Liquid Handbook. Of course, today we did not have time, and it was not the objective of addressing all the topics. It was just a flavor. But if people want to learn more about good practices in liquid application, they can download for free our liquid additive handbook. Just look on the internet, Adisseo Liquid Handbook, and you can download it for free. And that's a quite rich document, about I think 55 pages, with a lot of tips and information about this topic.
Yeah. I love handbooks like that. It's like taking a course all at once, and you can get a lot of information. Some of it that you didn't even know you needed.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. So before we wrap up today, I want to ask you the same 3 questions that we ask all of our guests. And
it's time for our famous 3.
The first one is, do you have a favorite resource that you use regularly?
Wow, that's not so easy. I would say my answer will seem a bit dumb, but I would say internet. Internet is that's a bit dumb, and it's not very original to say internet. We are not that much now in the era of books. We have forgotten that books exist. Of course, when I was younger, I was used to have some books. I still have a lot of books in French and English. If I had to name, there is one very known resource, especially in the US, because it comes from the US, is feed milling technology, which is edited in the USA. This is the first one that comes to my mind. Then it's newsletter, websites, etc. But I don't have a specific. However, I would like to name one institute in France. It's quite unique also. It is called Técaliment. Técaliment is a French association of feed millers and additive producers and equipment suppliers. I am part of this association. I am at the board, and this is a technical center where we make a lot of trials, very innovative trials. It's quite French, but we produce a lot of information, studies, data. So Técaliment is a very good source of information and discussion and exchanges between professionals.
Yeah, that sounds really great.
Técaliment.
Yeah. Do you have a non-work related resource, such as a podcast, a movie, or a book, or something that you've read lately that you've enjoyed?
I'm reading a lot of books, mainly in French. I would not name. I would not name any of them. I'm reading a book about what happened during the Second World War, but I'm not sure it's so interesting for the auditors of the podcast. No.
Oh, you never know. I love to hear people's book recommendations, so it's something I can move on to next. So actually, I have 2 questions, but I'll ask the other one after this. The last question for the podcast, at least, is what is your best advice to be successful in the industry?
That's a vast question, but coming to my field, as you understood, is the mills, either feed mills or premix plants. Even if you are very skillful, even if you have many experience many years of experience, you don't know everything, and I don't know everything. I'm learning. I can tell you I'm learning. I'm trying to learn every day. When I visit a mill, I try to get at least one thing that I learned that I didn't know, so I come back with something new. But you don't know everything. So if you want to progress and if you want to succeed, for me, the best is to go to experts, to have a network of people who know. They don't know everything, but they know about some specific topics. So I think you will never succeed if you work alone, especially in your plant. You cannot work alone. You have to trust people. Can be colleagues, can be sometimes competitors, can be suppliers, can be clients. Even clients, you can learn from clients. And even you should learn from clients. That's the most important, I think. Yeah. So my advice is don't work alone. Create your own network with some reference, some experts, and have regular exchanges, even if you are in a very operational work.
Yeah. Yeah, that is great advice. Working in a bubble alone is not going to work very well.
I'm sure that's the same for nutritionists and formulators and so on. You need to exchange. You have to open your ears and eyes to know what happens today on the market, what is new, etc. You can, if you close your eyes and ears, you will work like you were doing 20 years ago, and it will not be very successful, I think.
Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. This was really fun. And for our listeners, if you liked what we talked about today, you can like and follow the podcast on your favorite platform as well as on LinkedIn. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.